I will be the first to admit that watching your team lose and then getting up the next day, it's never easy. Getting up yesterday morning after my Vikings won, it was a great day. Now getting up a Tuesday morning after watching my Raiders barely lose to the Chiefs, it's tough. It's absolutely tough. And what we'll cover in the latest edition of our Standouts and Fizzouts segment, or Standouts and Fizzouts, because everybody has their own version of winners and losers, risers and fallers. Ours is Standouts and Fizzouts because pop, we think it should replace all water, whether it's Coke, Pepsi, Mountain Dew, a Diet Dr. Thunder, the great value kind. Let us know what you guys drink in the comment section down below. But this game between the Raiders and the Chiefs, it was down to the wire. It was hampered by penalties. It was just okay. So we'll start out with Fizzouts. For really just, I really got to start by saying just Fizzouts in general, like the roughing the passer penalties around the NFL, not just the one that Jones had on Derek Carr. I get the fact that the refs are trying to protect quarterbacks. I absolutely do, especially after the Tua Tagovailoa situation. I totally get it. But what do these refs expect these defensive ends who are running full speed, these defensive linemen, what do they expect them to do? The NFL needs to figure this out because it does, I think it was Jones that was talking about it, about how it does and can cost games, because it's just, I don't know what they want them to do at this point. There's a difference between like being too critical and not being critical enough, and I think the NFL has found that too critical portion of this. So yes, the very first thing I got to talk about is roughing the passer penalties. It just penalties in general. I mean, whether it was the Malcolm Kuntz hold that the Raiders had, what was it that extended that drive and gave Kelsey his fourth touchdown? It just. It is what it is. But so we'll get in here. We'll start by talking about the standouts for the Chiefs, because I do think, the Chiefs, I mean, you got to start with Patrick Mahomes. It's unfair. He's literally a cheat code, 29 of 43 for 292 yards and 4 touchdowns. He just, all 4 to Travis Kelce. We'll get in him in just a second. Honestly, Patrick Mahomes, I would argue that they are one of the teams to be the AFC. I know, obviously, yes, they'll play the Bills in a couple weeks or whenever it is. I'm so excited for that game. That's going to be a huge game. But Patrick Mahomes, he's just a stud. Jerick McKinnon also had a strong day, 8 carries, 53 yards, also had that really nice catch down the sideline, got that and drew the horse collar penalty. I think it was Roderick Teamer who ended up committing that penalty, but overall had himself a nice day. I think it was over 72 all-purpose yards on the day. He's an absolute stud. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he was kind of shut down. The Raiders run defense did a good job on him. My fantasy team thanks you. But overall, it was one of those things where you expected him to have a bigger day, but he didn't, because the Raiders defense stepped up. But Jerick McKinnon definitely filled that void. Let's see here. Also, yes, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, 6 catches, 90 yards. Really was that guy that stretched the field in a lot of different ways for the Chiefs, as well as Mecole Hardman had a really couple nice catches there as well. So, obviously you can't talk about standouts unless you don't mention Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. It was unfair. Like, literally over half of the catches he had were touchdowns. 7 catches, 25 yards, 4, count them, 1, 2, 3, 5, 4. I'm kidding. 4 touchdowns. It just, I don't know. He's unstoppable, and we'll get into the Raiders kind of play calling thing of it a bit. Like, why did they not absolutely just double, triple cover him in the red zone? It is what it is at that point. We also saw Sky Moore get in there a little bit. I'd like to see him get in a little bit more action, but it is what it is. As far as more standouts, Darius Harris had that sack. I think they wanted to give George Karlaftis a little bit of credit. I think he had a half a sack there with I think it was Frank Clark, or maybe it was Harris. But anyway, Darius Harris led the way with 10 tackles and a sack. Nick Bolton everywhere, 9 total tackles, had himself a game. L'Jarius Sneed, I love L'Jarius Sneed, I really do. Justin Reed kind of got trucked by Josh Jacobs, but it is what it is. Everybody did. On other standouts, Frank Clark as well as George Karlaftis, who collected their first sacks. Also, Matthew Wright, I got to give you credit. 59-yard field goal right before the end of the half. Absolutely love it. You love to see him just literally just took the laces off of it. Very, very, very great to see in that regard. As far as Fizzouts, run defense wasn't great. Absolutely wasn't great. I mean, Josh Jacobs had himself a day, and I mean, I know that the Raiders are going to try to establish that all day, every day, and it is what it is at that point. But the run defense, especially as the season goes along, needs to get so much better. It's not even funny. As far as other fizzouts for the Chiefs, there really wasn't a lot. They came back. They didn't shut down Josh Jacobs, but there was their defense is opportunistic. Their offense was able to put up points against a defense that's actually gotten a lot better. I know we need to shed more of a light on that, but man, there was not a lot of fizzouts for the Chiefs in this one. They were able to, in a lot of ways, like there was no doubt that they would really ever come back, but it was just one of those things where you're honestly expecting them to really at least the Raiders I was conflicted because I thought the Raiders would hold this one a little bit more, but honestly the Chiefs just came roaring back. Patrick Mahomes and the rest of them are really just all of them are standouts, but overall we'll see how the Chiefs can keep this one rolling. Now as far as the Raiders, Derek Carr, 19 of 30, 241, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Derek Carr is definitely a standout for me. There was multiple times, especially both touchdowns to Devonta Adams. I don't fault him for any part of this loss. Pretty much, like I realize that at some points you have to have a quarterback that leads the way for you. But maybe that 4th and 1 play calling, I don't put any of that. Whether it was the 3rd and 1 that was considered a drop by Devonta Adams, I felt like maybe Devonta Adams should have definitely drug his foot, and made the play there, but it is what it is. Derek Carr, the play calling going along there, maybe should have been a flag too, because it did look like both receivers did get their feet tangled up with their respective DBs. And Derek Carr, like I said, did not play bad in my mind. I felt like that his protection was relatively good. The running lanes were even better. Josh Jacobs, 21 carries, 154 yards and a touchdown, definitely had his day. Would have liked Zamir White to have a little bit more yards. I just want him to blow up already. I love Zeus, but Devonta Adams, another standout when he's not shoving cameraman. Okay. Well, I get the fact that Devonta Adams was frustrated. He obviously apologized after the game, so it is what it is. I just want to leave that one in the past. That's all we'll say about it. So Devonta Adams, 3 catches, 124 yards and 2 touchdowns, almost doing his best Randy Moss impersonation, and just getting it done. Those 2 long balls from Derek Carr. It is what it is at this point. I'm upset. Don't get me wrong. Like this loss hurts, but there's so many things about this win that have me fired up as a Raiders fan, because quite honestly, we have seen so much worse from this team in the first 5 weeks of the NFL season. Like, we wanted the pump of life into the veins of the Raiders, and I think they finally got it. This offense is finally coming along. They're establishing the run. Devonta Adams is getting going. I would like to see Hunter Renfrow and everybody else get going here, but Darren Waller also, I don't believe he played the majority of the game. So, it is what it is at this point with his injury, but I hope that he gets back very quickly. And I think that at the end of the day, the Raiders are in a good spot. They really are. I just think that you got to figure this thing out. Now they'll head into the bye, and it is what it is. Another standout for me as far as the Raiders, man, Max Crosby is just a stud. Like, we're going to make a video about him, but he is playing like the absolute best defensive end in the NFL right now, and it's not even close. He's absolutely going out there and doing his thing. Like I mentioned, had a couple of sacks, countless pressures, like every single snap, he's in the backfield. He is a man to block, so you got to give him nothing but love there. As far as other standouts, for the Raiders, we mentioned guys like Josh Jacobs, who had he almost had 100 or 200 all-purpose yards, on the day, just absolutely doing his thing. Denzel Perryman, I'm torn because, yes, he did have 8 tackles and a sack, but it's just this entire linebacking core. Like, I know that covering running backs coming out of the backfield, especially the Chiefs running backs, is a tall task, but Devonta Adams and company, like, I just need to see more out of those linebackers. I want to see more picks. I want to see more plays on the ball. I want to see more just plays made on defense. Like, I know it's Patrick Mahomes, but you got to be able to you got to be able to put pressure on him with players other than Max Crosby. So that's kind of leading into our fizzouts here. You want to talk about fizzouts, Roderick Teamer. So you have Jerick McKinnon on the sideline, and I understand that at the same time you don't want him to score. Yes. Push him out of bounds. You don't need the horse collar. If he didn't make that, if he did not have that horse collar, I don't think that the Chiefs kicked that field goal at the end of regulation there, and possibly the Raiders win this one. That's clearly not saying that Roderick Teamer is the reason the Raiders lost this one. That is not me saying that at all. But it just, you got to be smarter in situational football than that. If he does get up the sideline for a couple more yards, great. Get around his waist, not up, tackling a little high. You can't make that mistake. Also, the approach to stopping Travis Kelce. This man, 50% of his receptions of his 7 catches were for touchdowns. He literally scored 4 touchdowns. This is a Madden game right now. Like, literally went out there, and I get the fact, okay, it's Travis Kelce. 1 touchdowns, maybe 2. Okay, but after that, how are you not putting everyone on your defense on Travis Kelce? Like, especially in the red zone. It shocks me, because there's no other really, like, serious playmaker that I'm worried about other than Travis Kelce, and He had himself a day. It is what it is at this point. Pass rushers not named Max Crosby. Yeah, definitely fizzouts. Chandler Jones at this point, I don't know. I was hoping that maybe we were going to see more of guys like Malcolm Kuntz or anybody step up. Bilal Nichols, anybody in the inside, get some pressure. It is what it is. I know that the Chiefs have a really good interior offensive line. Don't get me wrong. I understand that. But if you want to be a Super Bowl team, if you want to be a team that's taken to that next caliber, you need to be able to get pressure on the inside, and the Raiders have not done that. Also, going for two, that might be our biggest standout. Like, I don't understand. You were down by one with, 4 minutes left or something like that, and you go for two, 30-29, which ended up being the final score of the game. I don't get it. I really don't get the calling there. I know that I've seen things. I think Derek Carr talked about it, how he was like the whole thought about was going for two. It doesn't matter what the excuse is. You have Daniel Carlson, who's playing like an all-pro. Just tie the game up and then let your defense make plays, which it did. I understand that, but why? What's the point of going for two? What is the absolute point of going for two? It makes no sense to me. Also, we mentioned it, but that play calling on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1. Josh Jacobs has over 150 yards. I know that time is a factor here, but I don't care. Josh Jacobs, I expect him to pick up that yard. You can spike it, do whatever you got to do. 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 to just go out the game there. It just. It is what it is at this point. But as far as other fizzouts, I just felt like the Raiders. I really couldn't think of any. Let us know what you guys think about the other fizzouts there. Make sure you guys let us know what you guys think. But overall, like I said, it's a disappointing game. You wish that the Raiders would have a different outcome, but it is what it is at this point. I think the Raiders are going into the bye, and we'll talk about this later tonight. But I think they have a spot where they can definitely regroup. But I think for right now, you need to let this loss sting. You need to be able to look back on this tape, get better from it, improve, and see where it takes you from there. But this was an absolutely this was a tough loss for the Raiders and the Chiefs. I mean, they're just, you can't ever count them out. They're always going to be tough. So and they're well coached. So, but that's it. That's our latest edition of Standouts and Fizzouts for the Las Vegas Raiders versus Kansas City Chiefs matchup. Make sure you guys like and subscribe down below. Leave a like and a comment. It helps people find the show. We greatly appreciate all the support that we've gotten and continue to get. You guys are truthfully awesome. We love every single one of you. Down in the description below, you'll find all of our social media platforms. So give us a like and a follow there. Also, remember to give us a listen and sub on iTunes. But also let us know what you guys think about Standouts and Fizzouts, because pop, we think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread should replace all water. Let us know if we missed any standouts or fizzouts. And at the end of the day, let us know what you guys thought about the matchup between the Las Vegas Raiders and Kansas City Chiefs.